I wasn't supposed to be here. In fact, my curiosity nearly killed me several times over. I was 3 years old when I was electrocuted for the first time. I found a key, and I wanted to see if I can open the electrical socket in the wall. It didn't open. About a year later, I was playing with a friend in the yard. I was 4 or 5 years old. He was using a shovel, and I was taking the dirt out, okay? And we had perfect synchronicity, okay? He was using the shovel, and then I was taking the dirt. And for a while, it worked fine. But then I saw the beetle. That was the first time I cracked my head. By the age of 13, I was bitten by a scorpion and several rodents. I broke my arm so bad, I nearly lost it. You can actually still see it, if you see. I'm 43 years old, and you can still see it. And I cracked my head again several times. But the thing is, I didn't learn. I still don't. No matter how many times I got hurt, I would soon forget, and there would be a bug that I would want to follow because I was curious, and then I would get hurt again, and every single time I was surprised of how this has happened. My name is Shahar Larry. Over the past 20 years, I've led and been involved in hundreds of innovation projects in dozens of industries with some of the world's largest multinationals as well as with really cool tech startups. I failed far more than I succeeded. And today I will try to share with you what I've learned in my 10,000 hours. Some of it will be a little bit depressing. You know, maybe before I begin, somebody told me just before I came in that the best way to give a talk is to say what you're going to say, then say it, and then say what you said. So maybe I should start by telling you what I'm about to say. So, I'm going to start by busting the innovation is awesome myth. Okay, we all celebrate innovators, creativity, curiosity, but in fact, I'm going to show you that we reject it and that we are terrible at innovation. I'm then going to try and explain to you why we are so bad at innovation and how bad incentives and metrics actually cause that. And then I'm going to try and give you some measure of hope, and I'm going to tell you that there might be a better way. There might be a better innovation ecosystem, one that is more productive, just, less susceptible to distractions. But I will have to leave you with a little bit of a problem. So I will also tell you why this is a challenge to realize and what we need to do in order to make this happen. Okay. There's no time, it's running really fast, so let's get started. Busting the innovation is awesome myth, right? Yeah. I don't remember my slide, so I leave my notes there. We don't like innovation, okay? We think that we do, but we don't. How do I know this? This graph describes the distribution of the different types of people and the way they adopt innovation, okay? It's a model called the Diffusion of Innovations model by Rogers. And what it shows is that the first group that we have is the innovators. Innovators are the ones that love innovation. They get excited by new things. They welcome change. They are not afraid. The only problem is they're only 2.5% of the population. Okay? After them, we have, well, actually, we have everyone else. And I guess this is my point. The other people are not adopting innovation because what they are trying is no longer new. They are only willing to try something after the innovators already did. They are only willing to try. We like to like innovation, but when it comes to adopting it, we would rather someone try first. Then we can try as well, okay? When it's less risky. The second thing I want to tell you is that we don't like innovators. We don't trust them, and we don't like them. I got suspended from every single school I ever attended. It's true, okay? I would always say the wrong thing. I was questioning what my peers, my friends, and my teachers thought was really obvious. I was such a constant source of disruption in class that my mother was called to school so many times, some of the teachers were sure that she was also a teacher. But at a certain point, I learned to recognize that I'm about to say something that is going to get me into trouble. I learned to identify that I'm about to do that. I still said it. Okay, I couldn't resist. I couldn't help myself. But it wasn't because I was brave. You know, it has something to do with my evaluation of risk. I was hoping every single time that maybe this time they're not going to get upset. Maybe this time it's not going to hurt. Maybe this time they will listen to me. They didn't. So I don't know if you know the story, but Sergey Brin and Larry Page pitched 350 times before they got funding for Google. I did a little bit of research on this, and this is probably very close to the real number. Now, for me, when I think about this story, it is not a story of entrepreneurial tenacity, you know, not only, at least. It is a story of rejection. Think about it. 349 investors rejected them. What Sergey Brin and Larry Page offered was so new and so radical that the investors couldn't trust them. And they couldn't like them. Imagine them leaving the room and the investors talking to each other and saying, yeah, I don't trust these guys and I don't like them. So why didn't they give up? Why did they continue doing this for such a long time? I was bootstrapping a tech startup of my own a few years ago, and a friend of mine came to me and he asked me, Shahar, how are things? And I remember I told him, I feel like I swam into the ocean and I can't see the shore anymore. So he looked at me and said, that sounds awful. I said, really? No, you don't understand. It's just, I mean, there's no point in going back. Maybe the other side is closer. So I didn't feel that I was risking anything. I was totally unaware of the risk. I think we have to remember that innovators, they're not rugged pioneers braving the storm. Innovators are more like irresponsible children that are sailing in a cardboard box into the ocean time and time again. Every single time, they are totally surprised that they are drowning. Okay, I also wanted to tell you that we are bad at innovation. Remember, I said that I'll talk about that as well. So let's look at some numbers, okay? I wasn't sure this would work. I always wanted to do this. Whenever I hear a lecture, let's look at some numbers, I say, this is the slide I want to do. I'm really happy you laughed. Okay, let's look really at some numbers. You need between 3,000 to 20,000 ideas, hundreds of patents and mini projects, dozens of major investments in order to launch around 10 new products, of which one will be successful, commercially successful. Startups are not doing much better. According to TechCrunch research, they reviewed 30,000 startups, and they saw that 80% of startups that were able to raise seed, so they raised money already, 80% of them weren't able to raise Series A. It means that they were dropped by their investors, okay? 75% of VC-backed startups will fail. The overwhelming majority of corporate innovation projects and startup innovation or startups fail. You know, the problem with this story is that while they're failing, it is the VCs, the venture capitalists, and the captains of industry that are actually setting the innovation agenda. They're playing a game. I call it the pick the best innovation game, but the lowest risk possible. And the way they do it is because, or the reason they do it is because, I don't know if you know this, but the incentive that VCs and corporates get for a very high exit of a startup or for a spike in the share price overshadows completely any other pay that they get. Okay? It is 10 times bigger than anything else that they get. So they systematically look for things that will have a short-term ROI. That is, they are conditioned to look for short-term ROI. If you're a startup and you got VC funding, I'm telling you this, it's really important. Make sure they always see you as a potential big-ticket exit. Or big exit ticket, sorry. Because if they don't, they will drop you. So why is this happening? If we look at the innovation ecosystem, both corporate and startups, we have three types of players. The first are the money people. These are the VCs, the angel investors, the corporate venturing. Then we have the market people. These are the big brands. Then we have the innovators, the founders, the entrepreneurs, the fools. Now, they each have an angle. They each have something that they are better at than anyone else. I don't know if you've noticed, but you guys and we Israelis, we also talk with our hands. I've noticed that it's very easy to communicate. So, the money people forget that in order for them to invest, they have to first of all raise money. They're very good at raising money. That is what they do. The market people are very good at bringing innovation to the market. The innovation people bring a fresh perspective, a different way of looking at things, a different way of doing things. But they also have their difficulties, their problems, their drawbacks. So the money and market people have the same drawback. They have the same problem. And that is they're very bad at spotting, identifying valuable innovation. As I said before, it's not their fault, it's the incentives. They are conditioned to look for immediate ROI. The innovation people are usually novices in building a new business. They don't have expertise in fundraising, in marketing, in sales, even in recruiting or general management, how to lead a team. These people are not necessarily the best or most experienced people to develop a company. So, the innovation failure, in a nutshell, is we have the right people, but they're misapplying their talents, okay? And they're doing the things that they're not best at. You see the money people and the money people and the market people, they're looking to reduce their risk, and they're looking always to identify the most promising innovation that we'll have. But that is the last thing that they know how to do. And the innovators, they are looking to do what? Raise money. The only question that a startup entrepreneur is interested in is, did you raise money? It is something that they're not very good at and that they hate doing, ask around. It's really one of the least favorite things about them. But they end up doing that and then say that they got the money, say that they got funding. Now they have to take that funding and spend it. Really, do we really think that the best people to spend money on building a business are the people that have the least experience in how to build a business? So the innovation ecosystem is broken, huh? Maybe it's time for me to stop? No, I'm an optimist. I'm almost a romantic. I've said this to some people and they told me it's not broken. This is how the game is played. If it's too hot for you, you can leave the kitchen. Okay, don't stay there if it's too hot. This is how. But as I said, I'm an optimist. What if there's a better way? What if we could find a better way to do this? Don't answer that. It's a rhetorical question. So, I think there is. And I think it is connected to one angle that we didn't consider. And it will sound strange. Innovators can innovate without the corporates and the VCs. Not only can they do it, they already do it. Most innovations and startups never get funding. Most innovators in the world today are investing their time and their effort and their resources in developing their innovation with zero support, but we never hear about them. Why? Because they fail. Because without support, they fail. So, what if we can find a different way to give them support? And what do you know? Another rhetorical question we have. So, blockchain and crypto started developing significant innovation at around 2010. This was 8 years ago, almost 9. For 5 years, there has been almost no investment from VCs in this world. The entire community was neglected. Sorry. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Vitalik. But him and people like him were ignored for a really, really long time. And at a certain point, they got tired of waiting. And they decided to do something. And in 2015, they launched the first ICOs, initial coin offerings. Okay? A new crowd-based funding mechanism was born. In 2016, 50 ICOs raised $100 million. In 2017, $6 billion. In 2018, 9 months until now, $20 billion. The technology, or Basically what I want to say is, when backed into a corner, the innovators find a way. If you neglect them long enough, they will find a different way to do it. You know, we talk about free to be big. It is technology that allows us today to be big. Actually, to be as big as we want, because of internet and smartphone and technology, and also peer-to-peer collaborative technologies like blockchain. These people, the people that started this blockchain revolution, are able to do something that they were never able to do before. They are able to do what they want without the help of the VCs. Actually, they can choose now if to work with the corporations or with the VCs. And I'm suggesting this. I think that the money people and the market people should stay in the game, and we should still work with them. But I'm also suggesting that now we are at the same level. So, if we are truly free, then maybe we can create a fantasy innovation ecosystem. And what would that look like? First of all, it needs to deliver high-impact innovation, not only the next bonus. Okay? Second of all, we need to be able to measure and value the contributions of each person inside this ecosystem. The money people in this new ecosystem would raise money. The brands would do what they do best, which is commercialize innovation. Production, manufacturing, marketing, sales, they would bring services like that. The innovation people will do what they do best, which is to think differently about things, and they don't have to worry about commercialization or about fundraising anymore. Selecting the best innovation to work on would be a joint effort of the entire community. And blockchain could be a very good technology to sustain the entire effort together. Am I 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes after time? Oh man, okay. Why is blockchain a good technology for this, just in a nutshell? A blockchain is a way to keep records, okay? It's a way to keep transaction history. It's special because it's open on the one hand, but it's also immutable. It's very difficult for anyone to change it, and there is no central point, so there's no one person controlling this. The problem with innovation ecosystems is that if one person has an unfair advantage, he can take advantage of the entire ecosystem. So what blockchain will allow us to do is to prevent that from happening. Okay, I have to move forward. So imagine, like I said, we have a decentralized, high-impact innovation ecosystem in which everyone is doing what they're supposed to do or what they're best at. But now the question that we need to consider is that even possible? Can we do this? Can we? Because everything that I said meant that we have to be able to measure value and reward people proportionately to the value that they create. But the question is, can this be done? Can we measure value in this way? And what I'm trying to tell you is that, yes, we can do this. It's not a myth. In the beginning, I said that the innovation is also a myth. I remember I busted that, and I'm telling you a really beautiful picture now about what the innovation ecosystem should look like, and we have to make sure that we can do this. So the problem is this. How do we really measure value? Sometimes I work for a client, and in 1 hour, I can create huge value, I can create no value, and I can destroy value. If I get paid by the hour, does it really tell anything about the value that I'm creating? So, I want to move forward, and the system that we came up with, or the idea, the direction that we want to come up with is to create an adaptive system of measuring value. It means that we take the market people, the money people, and the innovators, and we start by guessing. Each one gets 1/3 of the potential value or the potential profit of whatever they do together, okay? And then we let the system work, and we ask the people what they think about it, and we check if they're more productive or less productive, and we get feedback from the environment and from the community the entire time, and we can change and adapt the different metrics in it in order to best fit whatever they're doing. This type of machine learning algorithms have been used many, many times, and we know that it's possible. One last thing, I understand that I have to finish, so let me just tell you one last thing. There is a joke by a comedian that I really like. His name is Jefferies. And he had a bit about the right to bear arms. I don't know if you've seen it, Second Amendment. And he says, people come to me after the show and they tell me, you cannot change the Second Amendment. And then he says, yes, you can. It's called an amendment. And this is my message to you. Remember this. Stay naive. Stay childlike. Don't be afraid to attack the things that people say that you cannot change. And when people come to me and say, you cannot change the innovation ecosystem, I tell them, yes, you can. It's called innovation. Thank you very much. Grazie mille.